Okay, here we are again. She's back. What happened was I shot a brief video of it. Now, I didn't shoot the whole thing, but the last time it was in here, I replaced the pan gasket on it because it was leaking. Also replaced the fuel solenoid valve on it and fixed an oil leak on the discharge side of the turbocharger, or the discharge oil line from the turbocharger. What happened now is I got it all back together that last time. I started it up like 5 times, drove it around, it was fine. He took it, he started it, he left here, he started a couple of times, and for some reason the fuel solenoid valve stopped working again. So what you got to do is it'll hold open when you turn the ignition on, but it will not open itself up. Now, there could be a number of causes for that. Could be not enough voltage going into the fuel solenoid to open it, but enough voltage to latch it. Or it could be a bad fuel solenoid. So we've got to resolve that problem. But that's not the reason it's back. The reason it's back is he blew a head gasket. So, as you can see, I've got the valve covers off. I've got the injector lines off. In the process right now of pulling the return lines from the injectors. I'm going to pull them off. I've got a bunch of piping that I've got to pull out. I've got to pull those water or those heater hoses or tubes out of the way. Got a boost line here for some gauges that some guys installed. Got to pull those things off. Then I'll start pulling the head bolts, pull the rockers off, and get the head out of there. Take a look and see what it is. Now, when he bought this truck, he was told that it had been a bigger turbo had been put on it, which there is a bigger turbo that I took off of it. It's a no-name turbo. I kind of measured the inducer on it, and it looks like it's about a 60 millimeter turbo, which is bigger than what was stock on this thing. When he bought it, they told him that they put the bigger turbo on it, and they told him they put high strength head studs on it. So I'm kind of curious as to, when I pull this head off, what's going to go on. If in fact there has been high strength head studs put in it, whether in fact the head has been worked on, if they put a fire ringed gasket or actually fire ringed the heads. Again, when the guy sold him this truck, he told him that they had worked on the injector pump and put a larger turbo and did head work on it. So we're going to find out. But I'll continue to shoot video on and off of this. So until later, that's it for now. Just some more video that I get the fuel return lines off. Got those heater hoses out of the way. Got to get back in there and disconnect the fuel filter housing off of the intake manifold, and then I can start breaking the head studs loose. Okay, so here we are. I got the head off. It's a standard valve or head gasket. It was leaking both oil and coolant out of the head. Not out of the head, out of the gasket. We have maybe some issues that need to be addressed. there is some degradation of the pistons around in the bore. So I'm going to have this guy come in and take a look at what I found and figure out where he's going to go with this. Now, he wants to build this truck, and I have no issues doing that, but the engine's going to have to come out. The engine's going to have to come out, and it's got to be gone through completely, because it's getting ridiculous. You know, every time you fix something, something else pops up. So you got to get the engine out. Check all of the journals on the crank. Check the cam bearings, crank bearings, rod bearings, rods, pins. The bore in relationship to the pistons, and start putting new gaskets. If the block is savable, then start putting new gaskets and bearings and whatever else he wants to do to add performance to this truck. I know he wants to increase the size of the turbo. I know that he wants to get a new P-pump, higher performance P-pump. I know that he wants to get new injectors. What else he wants to do, or how far he wants to take it, I'm not really sure. I think he's looking for, he's mentioned to me a couple of times that he's looking to get between 600 and 700 horsepower out of this thing. So I'm going to have to, we'll have to take a good look at it, sit down and come up with a plan, see how long he can be without the vehicle, if he wants to do it now, etc., etc., etc. So we'll come back to it. I'm going to shoot a little video here of the progression of the Cummins. This is at 94 Dodge Cummins. We pulled the engine out and got to replace the pistons, but he wants to enhance the performance of it. So we're not really exactly sure of what he's going to do right now, but it kind of depends on, I'm going to pull the engine apart, get it up onto an engine stand, pull the engine apart, check the crank and everything to make sure everything's good. Bearings are going to be replaced. Clean it up, make sure the engine's good. It had terrible oil leaks on it, all over the place. The head, because the head, whoever put the engine back together again originally didn't torque the head, and the rear of the head and number one cylinder was leaking antifreeze and oil. But anyways, we're going to tear the engine apart, scope it all out, and then start building it. He wants to get somewhere around 600 or 700 horsepower out of it. So I'm going to, he's looking for putting a cam in it, pistons, redoing the valves, new exhaust manifold, new intake manifold, new turbocharger, just a bunch of stuff, probably some bigger valves in the heads. But anyways, this is just kind of a video of showing the engine, just draining the oil out of it, getting probably going to start getting the engine prepped to put up onto the engine stand. But anyways, this is basically it, and as you can see, there was a lot of oil being leaked out of this thing. all over the place. I'm not really sure. That wasn't evident of where that was coming from. It might have been originally leaking out of the, I fixed the oil return line off of the turbocharger, so that oil right there might be coming, or might have come off of that, when that oil return line from the turbocharger was leaking. But it was so bad that you couldn't tell where oil was coming from. There was so much oil all over the place. So we're going to clean it all up, get it back together, get the engine tore down, and see what we can do with it. Bring you back.